Standard Time, just in case you don't know what coast you're on. That's the West Coast. And you know what West Coast rhymes with? The best coast. The best coast. Get your coffee, get ready, because today we're talking about movies that have aliens inside them. Any movie with an alien completely counts. 2001 Space Odyssey, the man who fell to Earth. Also, The Brother from Another Planet. We've got that one too. That's a movie with the excellent actor who also plays Miles Bennett Dyson, the creator of Cyberdyne Systems. Today we're talking about that. Just gonna let everybody trickle in slowly, like a cold trickle. Does anybody know what cold trickle is a reference to? Cold trickle is, of course, Tom Cruise's character in Days of Thunder, but there are no aliens in that. Unless you count Michael Rooker later on becoming Yondu in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Look, I'm gonna zip this up so I look more svelte. Look more svelte and slick. Look a little bit shiny. This is like a semi-gloss jacket, like my lipstick today. Hey Geek Chat, what's going on? Today we're talking about movies that have aliens inside them. There's probably a lot of movies with Keanu Reeves that feature aliens. A lot of times people think, The Matrix has no aliens, but maybe Matrix 4 will have aliens come to the planet and be like, yo, why are you guys putting everybody inside the computer? Stop, help computer. Hey, Will. Couple things that are important to mention before I get started. First of all, welcome. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are being safe, staying home, being clean, just keeping distant if you're out, and if you have to be out and about, just keep your distance. Wear your mask on your face. That's actually like the most important place to put it is on your face. You want to wear the mask, the facial mask on your face. This is something that I've seen people not really doing too well. Sometimes they wear it like a chin strap. Sometimes they wear it like a bonnet. It's a mask. It goes on your face. I don't know how many people don't understand how this works. This is my favorite thing, guys. I've mentioned this before, and this is funny, and I see it all the time because I'll go running. I go running in a full-on. I look like one of the murder hornets. Like my whole face looks like a bumblebee. I just wrap my head in just bandages. I look like the mummy when I go running, and but I'll encounter people who are just like they'll walk up to their friends, walk with their dog, and then they'll pull their mask down and start talking. Hey, Johnny. Let me pull my mask down and spread some infection potentially. Yeah, that's the funniest thing that I find going out and about. It gets a little disconcerting. I get a little worried about the fact that humans are in charge of fixing this problem. Humans are also responsible for it pretty much, but they're also in charge of fixing it, which you put people in charge. If I were an infectious disease, I would pick humans as my target, as my host. I would say, humans, I can really exploit their bad behavior and become a pandemic. That's what the coronavirus is saying to itself right now. Let's go with those humans, man. We could have stuck with bats, but we didn't. We chose humans. Why? Because they're the dumbest. I'm kidding. You guys are smart. You guys are interested in aliens. You're curious. Be curious, guys. It's the most important thing in life. Be curious. Keep trying to find out new things. I think anyway. My philosophy is you should always be expanding your horizons, always deepening your mindset, always trying different flavored Cheetos. There's flamin' hot Cheetos, there's extra flamin' hot Cheetos, there's jalapeno Cheetos, and those are my favorite. I could eat a whole. My mouth is watering just thinking about jalapeno Cheetos. If you guys have, if you can find a deal on jalapeno Cheetos, please send me the link. I will eat them. They're my favorite snack food. Total junk. They have actually like naturally flavored ones. They had them at Trader Joe's. I don't know if they still have them at Trader Joe's anymore. But that's what you want, a naturally flavored Cheeto. I think if you're going to go the Cheeto route, I think it's reasonable to just say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to get all the chemicals because I want some authentic Cheetos. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying. But the most important thing is, guys, once I get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, 10,000 subscribers, I am just about a third of the way there. So you guys need to go over to AristotleFullThrottle.com and just hit subscribe and comment on the videos. Go in the chat rooms there, comment on them, watch the replays of this show every day. All of them are available for replay, for rewatching value. You could continue to watch them ad infinitum. I may one day donate them to the Library of Congress if they want them. I will stand outside the Library of Congress with a thumb drive with all my videos and say, I would like to donate this to human history. I'd like for no one to watch this in the future also. What's up, Ricardo Rocca 92? I've been expanding my career horizons. I've recently become a gangster rapper. I hope you guys don't mind. It's the album, it took like 23 minutes to make, and it's gonna drop pretty soon. And with that proportion, with that ratio, 23 minutes to an album, my entire career lasted probably about an afternoon. I like aliens, guys. I think with the possibility out there, I think there are aliens. The Pentagon recently released footage of UFOs. Pentagon's like, I don't know what these are. The Pentagon. The shape that is also a very highly influential, important, most protected secrets, most protected thing in the world is the Pentagon. The shape. It's not to be confused with the octagon. That's UFC, guys. Watch out. You don't want to get stuck in the octagon either. You'll get probably murderized by a giant meathead. But the Pentagon released footage of aliens, guys. Maybe aliens. I think it's unidentified. They're UFOs. UFO stands for unidentified flying objects. So according to the Pentagon, this footage is real. This is real footage, guys. And you know what else is important about this? The person who prompted this to actually surface was Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge. If you don't know who Tom DeLonge is, he is the guy he's the guy that nobody likes you when you're 23. He's the freaking guy. He's the guy from Blink-182. He's the guitar player for Blink-182, guys. This is who is uncovering actual credible UFO evidence. The guy who's all the small things. All the small things, guys. Are you serious right now? Tom DeLonge? Yeah. That's pretty neat. Oh, guys, you'll hear my gangster rap. You don't worry. You don't worry about that. You're going to have to search it out, though, because I might do it completely... I'm going to brand it. It's going to be branded, and it's going to be... The problem is, you're going to see that... you're going to be like, that guy probably listened to a lot of Weird Al growing up. Probably. What's up, Geek Chat and Ricardo? You guys are on Instagram. You guys can also head over to... Let me flip this screen back around. That is not what you want to look at. Great. Awesome. It's so funny when the taps on the screen for Instagram are like counterintuitive, because sometimes you want to just tap, if you double tap the left side of your screen on a video and it goes back 10 seconds or forward 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever your proprietary seconds are on whatever app you're on, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube. But on Instagram TV, on IGTV, when you do that, you accidentally like the video every time. And I'm like, I don't want to like this video. I just want to watch it. Maybe I'll like it. Angels and Airwaves, bro. Here's a little story about me I'll put in there. You guys might not know this. You probably don't know this. I just carry this information around in my head and I don't tell anybody. So maybe if I start telling people, they'll know it. I played Warped Tour with my band. I had a band that was like on those tours and stuff and having rock and roll lifestyle. Not really a rock and roll lifestyle. Nerdy and geeky lifestyle in the rock and roll format. So much fun for us. I mean, I enjoyed it. I like to play. It's all about the music for me, guys. But we played Warped Tour one year, and Angels and Airwaves was playing that one of the stages that year, and I saw their set, and they weren't bad. They were pretty okay. Tom DeLonge's side band, if you will. Will mentions Angels and Airwaves, which is dedicated to finding. Tom DeLonge has left music in the world of rock and roll to dedicate his life to searching extraterrestrial life forms. Alien life forms, guys. Extraterrestrial, like the song by Katy Perry featuring Kanye West. Jesus. Listen, I'm coming after Kanye with my raps. I'm telling you, you're gonna see Kanye sweating my raps. Dig it. Angels and Airwaves. Tom DeLonge left the music world to dedicate his life to finding extraterrestrials. You know, it's a good movie that has an extraterrestrial, an alien in it. Several aliens, actually. Flight of the Navigator. You ever see that one? That's a Disney movie. That's on Disney Plus. You could go watch that right now. You may not want to watch the whole thing. You might just want to skip to about 45 minutes in when it gets good. I mean, the whole buildup is pretty good. But there's lots of movies. I mean, technically the Star Wars movies count, but not really. Because it's all fantasy. Maybe the Star Wars movies count. But I think definitely the Star Trek movies count. Because Star Trek takes place just in our future. Guys, what do you think? Star Trek? Do both Star Wars and Star Trek count for aliens? Or are the aliens in Star Wars somehow different in that they're fantastical? Even though the aliens in Star Trek are fantastical, it is based in our reality, in our actual human Earth. How does that work? Can we even consider that? Sure. Oh man, I love aliens. I gotta tell you, I was actually a part of SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. It's just a giant series of satellite dishes all over the planet and in space, I think, that are coordinated to just listen to outer space to try to find aliens, because we haven't had any conclusive evidence of that. There's a movie called K-Pax with Kevin Spacey that I mentioned that's actually pretty good. K-Pax is doesn't have aliens though. Spoiler alert. Flight of the Navigator is great. I do enjoy it. Hey Tatiana, thank you for joining us. Flight of the Navigator is so much fun. It's goofy. It does one of the things that I like in movies where you could just scan someone's brain and then become like the person. I saw a really good he's a really funny TikToker. Oh man, I gotta find him. He is so funny. I would tell you all about him because you got to find his TikToks. They're real funny. But he plays all the characters, and one of them he scans a human and then becomes like him. Here, I'm just gonna tell it. Listen, I'm looking it up right now, and then you're gonna have to Google this guy because he's freaking hilarious. Hilarious. Let's see. Hang on. Sorry for this. Yeah. I'm like that guy now that's like your friend. It's just like, hey, got a second. Hold on. Let me just look at this. Let me just stare at my phone for 2 minutes and then ignore you. You guys are here. I know. I'll find him at some point during the show, and you guys will think he's hilarious. I'm kind of disappointed that I can't find him right now. But I like when aliens can scan a human. Thinking of that, Alien 3, I told you this about my theory about Alien 3, right? How they could have made an Alien Resurrection that would have made more sense than Alien Resurrection. I actually got someone fighting me on my Alien Resurrection video that I made, or my top fact about aliens. I got a video out there. It's pretty popular. It's one of my more popular videos, which I'm excited about. It took me a week to make. I spent a whole week making that video. Isn't that crazy? Who spends that much time on videos? Me. Will says Star Trek counts for sure. It's basically how we expected space diplomacy to be. Yes, I agree. Hang on. I'm going to find this guy. I'm searching. He's so funny. Yeah. One of these days. I'm just going to tell you how funny it is. I'm going to be like, this guy is so funny. I'm just going to keep telling you how funny he is. Here he is. His name is, here it is, Jeff, RIGHTNOWW, at Jeff right now. Very funny guy.
Everybody look like you. We all look like you. Hey, ask him why his nose got two nostrils. He's not gonna know. Just ask him. Why your nose got two nostrils? I don't know. See, I told you he don't know. Man, hey, we're here to take this planning, so we're gonna
Anyway, you got to check this guy out. He's hilarious. I'll put him in the chat. Particularly this video is so funny. Yeah, guys on Instagram, go find him. Jeff right now. He's one of the funniest guys I've seen on the TikToks. So I got to tell you, have I ever encountered aliens? No. But have you? My favorite movie by Steven Spielberg is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I was thinking about it a lot my whole life. And I really just recently realized, I'm like, well, of course Close Encounters of the Third Kind is one of my favorite movies because it's about communicating with aliens through music. Let's see. I can play the music. Here, hold on. No. All my things don't work today, so we're just going to hang out and have a fun time and listen to my echo. There's no sound. That's fun. Hang on, guys, 1 second. I swear this. There it is. Remember that one? That's how you talk to aliens right there. You know what was weird is when I was a kid, that piece of music unsettled me. It made me feel weird. Made me feel creepy. I was like, ooh, that's weird. But John Williams wrote that music. When he was writing that music, he decided deliberately to make a phrase. He tried to make a phrase that is not resolved. It's very sussy. It's like suspended. That would like resolve it. If you just added one more note to that, it would resolve. See, it feels like it would resolve if you added more notes to it, but John Williams was like, no, I want it to sound like a thing that we do in music called calling and answering. So one side lets out a phrase, and then the other side answers the phrase. So it's kind of like a signal that you put out into the world to communicate with the aliens. And apparently the aliens were sending that message to us to hear a response. A musical response. And apparently the aliens follow also the 12 tones. What's up, Matt Thrower? Matt Hauer? Matt Thrower? Matt Thrower. Hey, Matt Thrower. Sorry, my connection almost timed out there for a second. Thank you for joining us. This is Aristotle Full Throttle. We talk 5 days a week at noon Pacific time about movies. And today we're talking about movies with aliens in them. I was just talking about the movie by Steven Spielberg called Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which I did see the re-release again. I've seen the movie 100 times, but I watched it in theaters a year and a half ago when it was like the 40th re-release, 40th year re-release of the movie. Really, really good movie still. I like that there was an era, particularly the 70s era of Steven Spielberg, where he had like real kids, real families he really featured the dynamics of a moment or a slice of life. This is when Steven Spielberg was really trying to be that, up and coming great director, which he eventually became. But I think he pursued a different route after he was very good at kind of creating these scenes with like kids being kids in their natural state, actually talking to each other, saying the things that kids say to each other, having actual human instances where the dad, played by Richard Dreyfuss, is the mom, Terry Garr, they're fighting and the kids are going crazy and all this stuff is going on and it feels real. But then I think Steven Spielberg later on in his career made everything very orchestrated in a different way, but in a good way. Very, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you think he had more of a real feeling in the 70s than he did in the 80s and 90s? But that's one thing I love about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, is that whole musical aspect of very, very cool chord. The cool thing about that is that the aliens do follow the 12-tone musical system, which they would, because it's a naturally occurring system, actually. If you play the fundamental of a scale, there's a really good series of videos online right now that featured Leonard Bernstein talking about how music naturally occurs. So in any instance, really, if you hit a fundamental of a scale, twice the frequency is at one octave, and then halfway, you've got the fifth, which you can hear. You can hear those overtones naturally when you hit a fundamental on a scale or a string or something like that. When you play a flute, it resonates, and those overtones naturally occur, and that is where we derive the 12 tones for our scale, because once those overtones go up to about 12 tones, they start to repeat again. So it's pretty neat. Tatiana, yes, you do have to watch Close Encounters again. It's fantastic. The Devil's Tower. Oh, you've been to Devil's Tower. That looks really cool. Tatiana is referring to that giant plateau structure in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which, maybe they did borrow a little bit of that idea from 2001: A Space Odyssey. This idea of finding like a giant structure to go to follow. But the plateau, the Devil's Tower, kept appearing in all of these people who've had encounters with aliens. They kept having these visions. So a lot of these people were artists and creative people. I thought was pretty neat in the movie is that, or anybody who was, just anybody who encountered the aliens had an urge to create something, had an urge to create music, had an urge to paint, had an urge to sculpt. It was like this sort of bringing this humanity out in people in order to communicate with the aliens, which were like, hey guys, stop forgetting your humanity. You guys can actually create. You can be creative beings. If you ask me, that's the whole meaning of life. There's not really much to it. There's not much to it, guys. The meaning of life, let me tell you. Take your shoes off. Relax. Stay here for a while. We're going to talk about the meaning of life and what it even means. And if there's aliens out there, probably. But the meaning of life, guys, very simple. Do you want to know it? The answer to the question, the most important question, of course, is 42, but we just don't know the question yet. But really the meaning of life, what do people do? They make more people. They either make more people, and when they're alive, they make things that may or may not be useful. Usually, if it's not useful, they call it art. So if you make something, it's not very useful, but people like it, it's just to look at. That's kind of like the fundamental for life itself, really. It's like life's purpose is to create. And that's it. You come along, and then you make something, and then you leave. That's what you do. philosophy here. This is Aristotle full throttle philosophy. This is the updated version. What do you think about that? I've been like thinking about that for my whole life, and I'm pretty sure that that concept works for me. It doesn't have to work for you, but for me, that gives everything and anything meaning. You show up, you come along, you make something, and you leave. What's up, Dooney? Do not follow me. I'm serious is here. What it is, Dooney? We're talking about aliens today. Movies with aliens in them, and, you know, generally just the meaning of life. That's what we're talking about today. What is the meaning of life? And I've solved it. It's to make something. It's to create. People show up, you make something, you leave. What have you got? See? It could be like everybody in the chat room today. You don't have to answer a question or ask a question, but you could show up, ask something, and peace out. Hey, Kayleen, we're just talking about the meaning of life and the importance of making things. And that is fundamentally it, you know? Close Encounters of the Third Kind was like encouraging humans to create and make music and communicate through the fundamental tones of nature, which is the 12-tone system. And jazz hands, everybody. I would say that jazz is not the meaning of life. Jazz is just, sometimes it's like a math problem. As a musician, let me explain jazz to you. I know I was talking about a little bit of music earlier. I got my echo. I don't know why my keyboard doesn't work. So this is classical music. I can't see the keys. This is classical music. This is jazz. Thank you. That was jazz. You're welcome. Arrival is probably one of the best alien movies I ever watched. That's what Dooney says. Arrival. I liked Arrival a lot. That was really cool. I love the idea that if you're going to communicate with an alien, how you going to do it? Where you going to even start? Arrival is fantastic. It's like, and the movie really does a great job in breaking down the step-by-step process in which you are to even like, you're like, what do we even agree on? First of all, as to it, like, and the cool thing about the movie Arrival, semi-spoiler alert, is that while deciphering the language, there's also a perception issue that starts to get involved in the actual deciphering of a language, which is really cool. That's such a really cool concept that, oh, perhaps we're not even looking at space-time the same way when we're talking in different languages. So I think there's interestingly enough, there is a culture, there's one spoken language where there's no concept of the future. And I forgot the name of it, but it might be like a Central or South American language where there's no concept of the future. It's just straight up, do you remember when we went to the store tomorrow? That's basically how they talk to each other. They'll say, remember next week when it was your birthday? So there's like a sort of temporal disjointedness that we in Western culture generally don't understand. However, this language uses memory to describe the future. So remember that time we had a fight next week? And I think maybe Arrival got inspired by that. It's pretty cool. Is it Portuguese? Oh yeah, well, Portuguese then. Portuguese, of the very little known language, Portuguese. The very strangely esoteric language that most of South America speaks, and also a lot of the Iberian Peninsula. Peninsula. Source material for Arrival is actually a short story, which is pretty good. I listened to it on tape one time when I was gardening and cleaning my yard when I had a yard, but I was listening to it on a tape, and it was like, oh, this is cool. Not on an actual tape. Remember reel-to-reel tapes, cassettes, guys? Remember that? Like when you look at you'll never look at a pencil the same way again. Reel-to-reel tapes, man. I had a tape deck in my car, like the first car I ever got, and you would have to put a cassette in there, but it just kept flipping sides. It'd go like, so I had to like get a radio transmitter for my iPod so that I could transmit my iPod to the tape, the fake tape, or no, to the radio station that I had to dial my radio to. This was the technology we were dealing with. This was before Bluetooth was readily available. Still radio signals, though, guys. We need those radio signals to communicate, like we do with aliens. We need to communicate with these aliens using radio signals. Remember the movie Contact? That was good. I read the book, too. It's also, that one's by Carl Sagan. Contact and Arrival are kind of similar. They're like cousins. They're sister flicks, as it were. Not because they both feature sisters, but they're both similar in that they're researchers, scientists trying to understand and decipher an alien signal and an idea. This is what I love the most about alien movies, is the pursuit to try to decode the system. And my favorite thing about the movie, what you talk about, Contact was actually better than the source material. The movie? Contact? Kayleen says Contact is better than the source material. Well, I remember the book. The book differs in that when they really boil it down to Jodie Foster's character going into that sort of three-dimensional system, the machine that John Hurt built. John Hurt was I loved his character in that movie because he's like, why just build one when you can build two for twice the money? I think that's a great line from a movie. So he built like a $3 trillion machine that can actually send you into space or send you into a different dimension. But in the book, there were 12 scientists or something like that. There were like a dozen scientists or so, and they all got in the machine, and they all had their own separate experiences, like her character in that movie. What was her name? Allie, Janie, Sally, McConaissance. She was sent to another dimension. She was sent through space-time through a wormhole to encounter an alien in Contact. But of course, she encounters her dad on the beach, and you're like, "What the hell is this crap? Where the aliens at?" And the dad was like, "I'm an alien, but this, you'd probably freak out if you saw me, so I'm gonna show you in a form that is less disgusting. I'm gonna be your dad." That's considerate of the aliens, I think. I think if the aliens do show up, they should show up dressed as your dads. Imagine the aliens show up and they're like, maybe your dad, and you did have the best relationship with your dad, and they're like, "I'm sending you to military school." Imagine like Ted's dad from Bill and Ted's showed up, and that should be it. That should be the next Bill and Ted's movie. Ted's dad shows up and he's like, "Ted, I'm really proud of you for discovering aliens, but if you don't clean up your room, I'm sending you to military school." Ted's dad. Oh, man. And then another alien shows up and he's like, "Hi, Missy, Mom, alien." Oh, good golly. That would be a great Bill and Ted's. There are aliens in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Station. Station is the smartest alien in the galaxy. And I really hope Station is in the next Bill and Ted's movie, because I'm trying to bring back the term station. I was, but I keep forgetting because, it doesn't really stick too well. But if you try hard enough, it will. Station. If Ted went to yeah, Death is coming back for the next one, actually. Death is the bass player of Bill and Ted's band. He's essential. He also wrote the Reaper rap. If you look at the credits, it says Reaper Rap, written by, what's his name? What's that actor's name? You guys know. Y'all know that actor's name. He's been around for like 40 years. My friend is friends with his daughter. Oh, dang, Dooney. Pulling one out. Good one. Guys, we almost forgot. But we would have forgotten entirely if Dooney didn't come up with this one. The Transformers movies are alien movies because the Transformers is aliens. They are aliens. Yeah, the Transformers are from Cybertron. And they drink Energon. There should be a drink called Energon. So you could like roll out. Y'all can roll out. Autobots. I can sound like, let me see if I can sound like Autobots. Autobots, roll out. Autobots. I can't do it. I almost sound like Bane. Bane. I am Bane. Autobots, roll out. Thank you. Time traveling and Anthony Hopkins. Is Anthony Hopkins in any alien movies? I feel like he's not. Autobots. Hey, K-Ferg, roll out. We're talking about aliens movies. Guys, did you ever see this one? This one's a good one. If you guys can name this movie, I'm going to quote it real quick. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. I just quoted the alien language. And I just said a thing that you shouldn't say too loud because what you could do is set forth a robot that will destroy humanity. So be careful. Don't just say that willy-nilly. It's like saying Beetlejuice. Yeah, Energon, K-Ferg and I think that Monster, or like there should just not be Monster. There should be a competitive company called Energon that makes Energon cubes. They'll serve their drinks in like a cube. I love it. It's like a transparent cube. It's probably an efficient packing method, if you think about it. Probably not that easy to hold, unless you're a robot. But who are we marketing it to anyway? Autobots. The Day the Earth Stood Still. K-Ferg wins that one. K-Ferg coming in. It's not from Galaxy Quest. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. And that movie is good. The Day the Earth Stood Still. With Burt Lancaster, I believe. Is Burt Lancaster in that? I love how I'm like this movie guy that's like, yeah, what's the movie? It's got the guy. Burt, I'm your grandfather's movie show. Hey guys, remember when there's the movie with it's got Meryl Streep and a horse? That's a good one. That was wonderful. Also, I think that that girl, Anne Hathaway, she was in that. Anne Hathaway. So there's 2 Day the Earth Stood Stills. One has Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. That's the giant guy in the movie. It's not Burt Lancaster. It's Michael Rennie. My bad. But he looks like a Burt Lancaster. He looks like a Burt Lancaster, guys. Come on. Let's be real here. He looks just like one. If there were a Burt Lancaster that was a Michael Rennie, they look the same. They're cousins. They've got to be. How about it? Yeah. Keanu Reeves is in one of the Day the Earth Stood Stills. Yeah. I love... Have you noticed this? Keanu Reeves often plays a guy almost all the time. But not only does he often play a guy, but the thing is he plays a character that has all the information and is the most important messenger of the galaxy or of information, or contains the secret to all of knowledge in his head, or can write a song that will solve the world's and the galaxy's problems and bring everyone together, or he is the only one who can override the mainframe of a system. Why is it Keanu Reeves the guy? He's always the one. Keanu Reeves. To be fair, he is very likable. It is scientifically impossible to hate Keanu Reeves. This has been studied by many, many professionals. High degree, people with several degrees. There are people who have studied this, and you cannot hate Keanu Reeves. It's impossible. However, listen, Keanu, you're the best. We all think you're the best. Keanu, to quote Keanu, you're breathtaking. He is always the guy that is essential to save either the universe, the planet, the mainframe. I don't know what it is with this guy, but it's probably the quality that he has that nobody could ever hate him. Something to confess about me is in order to be a man or a woman, you have to be a human. So why is Superman called Superman when he's not human but Kryptonian? Dang, Dooney, pulling it out again. I think Dooney is like today's captain. That's a good point. Why is Superman called Superman? He should be called Super Alien. He should be called Super L. You know? Because he's one of the L's. He comes from a long line of L's. Elves? No. L's. He should be Super L. Super Kryptonian. That's so true, man. And how come in Krypton, dig this. I remember watching Krypton. Sometimes movies don't have a really good concept of what it would be like to have an alien civilization. I think they did a good job in Man of Steel, actually. I actually liked the first 10 minutes of Man of Steel because it felt like an ecosystem, a planet, a real place with animals and beings other than just the people. But if you look at the first Superman, the movie, 1978, Superman, the movie, I talk about that a lot. If you look at that movie, it's just ice crystals. They just hang out around ice crystals. There's no wildlife. There's no flora. There's no fauna. There's just a bunch of people walking around in glowy robes. I don't really know what they're doing there. I don't know what that's about. It's like, guys, it seems like a pretty boring planet. I'd eject myself. Super Dude. Yeah, Super Dude should be maybe that. Yeah, K. Ferg. Dooney, you just blew K. Ferg's mind with that piece of science you just pulled out. Am I right? Okay, let's see. K. Ferg says John Wick remade the flick, didn't he? Oh, let me catch up. I'm behind here. K. Ferg says Jedi could also open a portal to the Dark Ages to make an army of dead as well. John Wick made the flick, didn't he? Always have a time spelling is. That's true. John Wick is difficult to spell that name. He's the chosen one. He was the dude before Jeff Bridges was. He is breathtaking. Yeah. Yeah. He's the dude. Imagine they made a sequel, like a proper sequel, not just the sequel with Jesus or the Jesus of, if they made a sequel to The Big Lebowski and it was Jeff Bridges and Keanu Reeves, could you imagine that? That's basically Bill and Ted's 3. I should hope. Ice Cube phone booths. Yeah. What's up with those? Yeah, like, it's just all ice cubes. Superman just hangs out around the ice. That's boring. I liked that Jor-El rode a flying creature in Man of Steel. That felt like an alien planet. Couple things, too. There's no real aliens in Interstellar. Well, there are aliens in Interstellar. But they're not aliens, though. Spoiler alert. I'm like remembering the movie now. If you guys have seen Interstellar, raise your hand. If you haven't seen Interstellar, plug your ears because I'm going to spoil it a little bit. But there are aliens, sort of, in Interstellar. Would you consider them aliens in Interstellar? Or no? Yeah or nay? I'll wait a second for it to catch up. But Interstellar and movies like Alien Covenant, there's aliens in that. Alien Covenant and Interstellar both have a scene that's really important where they show that they're going to extend the human race. This is a problem I have, guys. Now, hear me out. When I watch a movie and they're like, we're going to go populate this planet, and then they just have a bunch of human embryos, like in Alien Covenant at the end, spoiler alert, when David has all the human embryos and the alien embryos lined up, they don't take into consideration the fact that humans have a microbiome. We've got like all this bacteria in our gut, or at least they don't mention it. So we have to actually be exposed to certain things in our environment and to each other in order to be healthy, arguably. We actually need microbes on our bodies. We actually need to be in an environment. So how come they don't show them having embryos of like every species of animal that is in our habitat that can create an entire sound ecosystem? I would like to see that for once in a movie, guys. Listen, President Hollywood, I would like for you to remember that people just like, you can't just take a bunch of human embryos and then have Anne Hathaway raise them on some other planet without any other things around. It seems silly. Yeah, Will. The thing, we're going back to Interstellar, whether or not they're aliens or not. So, I guess they're not aliens. But they are aliens. But are they not aliens? Because, so at what point do we become aliens? When we repopulate another planet and then travel back through time to tell us how to get to that planet? Because then we're aliens then. That's a good question. Humans from the super duper future, from like 1 million years, from 1 billion years from now, creating like some weird tesseract dimension in which Matthew McConaughey can talk to his daughter through a bookshelf. That seems to be, I don't know, it's debatably aliens. Because even if you're from, say, like, if you're from New Jersey and you sneak into Canada, you're an alien. So if you're from Earth and you sneak into some other planet from the future and then you contact back, you're an alien. That's an alien. But you're humans, but you're aliens. I don't even think you're the same species at that point. Get this idea, though. And when I was a kid, I thought my cousin came up with this idea, but then 2 years later, we saw it on some Lifetime movie. This is a great idea. What if all of those little gray aliens with the giant eyes that we always see, that everybody reporting, they're like, yeah, they were small with gray eyes and they stuck a straw up my butt. Those types of aliens. What if that's just the natural progression of human evolution, that we lose all our hair, we don't need to get that tall, our eyes get bigger because the sunlight dims way in the future, like 1 billion years, but then they figure out time travel, humans. So by the time we evolve into a species that has to collect DNA to diversify the species, so they have to go back in time in order to propagate the human species, which has now evolved or devolved into giant-headed, huge eyeballed gray aliens. What if those aliens, they're not aliens, they're humans now, go back in time, and those are just the people who get abducted. They're getting abducted by future humans. I think Future Humans is the name of a band, too. I think that's a good idea, but someone already used up that idea in a movie, a made-for-TV movie. Expatriations. Yeah. They're aliens from the future, but yeah. So I think that the gray aliens are just humans. You guys, though, it's really important, and I think we should solve this in the next 10 minutes. Are we like? Is there alien life? I think that's really what we're all here for, to try to figure out which is the best depiction, or what's your favorite depiction of contacting aliens. What is your favorite depiction of what an alien would be like? Mine personally is hopefully they're all like David Bowie, and they all just like, hey, look, I'm a lizard man from outer space, or I'm Joe Morton from The Brother from Another Planet. That movie was interesting. I remember renting that from the library. Joe Morton. That guy, he also played Miles Bennett Dyson, the creator of Cyberdyne Systems. He sacrificed himself to destroy it, to also, but it's an eventuality. He would have been a hero. He was going to be the world's, destroyer, but then he became the world's hero. But then they made 4 more Terminator sequels and just kind of undid everything. Starman. That was good. Did you guys see Paul? I thought Paul was great. I really liked Paul. He was a funny little alien. He's a little guy. I like that he was good. He brought the bird back to life just so he could eat it. That was funny. That was a fun movie. Yep. Fro show. Joe Morton, the brother from another planet. That was like a star-making role right there. I don't even know if you remember that one. But he played an alien. But, it's like, it's a good allegory of being black in America. Because there's also a really good book by Ralph Ellison called Invisible Man that I highly recommend. Because it's very good. One of America's greatest authors. Close Encounters felt like a documentary at the end. Yeah, that's what I love about Close Encounters. When you get to that part of the movie where you can just feel the space between everybody. You could feel everybody's like bated breath waiting to see this ship open it. Like they're all just kind of in silence, but there's a hum of all these machines whirring, and there's people on walkie-talkies, and there's all these people just staring up at the spaceship. It is one of the greatest finales of a movie ever. It is a great finale, and it's a musical finale. It's an orchestrated musical finale, and I think it's fantastic because it starts out very simple with the theme, with the repeated theme. And then it turns into jazz. That's jazz. I dug it. Jazz. There's so much jazz in that movie. It's funny because John Williams, the composer for all of Steven Spielberg's movies pretty much, is a jazz musician. He was very famous, came to fame in the 50s, guys. I think the first movie he scored was in like the 50s or 60s. The guy's 145 years old. And I go to watch him every year at the Hollywood Bowl. Hopefully I get to see him again this year. It's just crazy. Can't remember the aliens in... Guys, Space Jam. We almost went this whole hour without talking about Space Jam and Marvin Martian and all these important aliens that we need to bring up. How do we not talk about Space Jam? Bill Murray? Michael Jordan's? You got so many Space Jams up in there. All the Space Jams. Alien movies are my favorite sometimes. Probably mostly. If you think about it, all the movies I mention all the time, Star Wars, Star Trek, even the Marvel movies are alien movies. Thor's an alien. How many aliens we got in that? Gamora, Nebula, Thanos, Howard the Duck, aliens. All of them. Martian Manhunter. That's a good one too, Martian Manhunter. Did anyone mention Evil Superboy? That was the name of the James Gunn movie from last year. His title. You know, I started watching that movie, Will. The Evil Superman movie. James, what was that movie called? I started watching that movie and I could not get through it. Brightburn. I could not get through it. I was just like, the acting in this movie is terrible. And I don't know why it's so bad. But it was just, I didn't believe anybody, especially the dad. I think the dad was terrible. I think Elizabeth, I'm your grandfather. What's the lady in that movie? Elizabeth Banks. She's good. She was good with what she had to deal with. But the dad was not good. David Denman. I was like, this guy is not a good... He's not good. I couldn't get through it. Because every part was just... That movie felt like this. And a lot of movies fall into this trap. It relied so heavily on the hook of being the anti-Superman that they were like, okay, so let's just set up the anti-Superman and then have this kid do all these evil things. And it didn't really feel like compelled or natural. It just felt like, hey, what if Superman was bad? Okay, let's get to it. It was never... I just didn't like it. I thought it was the acting was terrible. I just couldn't buy what they were talking about. There were so many scenes where, oh man, it's almost as if it didn't even have a script. And I know James Gunn's brother or homies wrote the movie, but yeah, they ruined a great concept, says Doty. I think so too. I think if you take Superman and make him evil, it would have been good, but they just made a jump scare horror film, and it wasn't that interesting to me. Thor is like the opposite of your time travel theory. Yeah, he comes from the past, kind of. He's like more from... I like that idea. The Thor comes from the olden days. He's Norse mythology, but he's real. I love that idea. That what if some of this mythology that we follow is just aliens? Like, one thing on Instagram, guys, if you want to continue the conversation, jump over to YouTube, AristotleFullThrottle.com. And I'm streaming live there. You can follow me on Twitter. You can see my Twitter name up on the screen. We'll chat every day at noon about these things. But just to leave you with this, I always think it's hilarious that when people talk about how did the humans build the pyramids, it must have been aliens. People can't wrap their mind around the concept that humans are crafty. We were actually evolved to develop this. And also to develop this. We have thumbs. We can do this, which has changed everything. We have opposable thumbs. We can grip things, create tools, make things. Our brains got bigger. We're pretty crafty. Homo sapien. Sapien means thinking. Sapial. That means something about your brain. So the point of what I'm trying to make is, don't be so shocked that 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 years ago, humans could depict art on walls, that humans could build pyramids, that humans could sail across the oceans. We are equipped for that. We are problem-solving beings. This is what we do. We figure stuff out. So don't be so surprised that 20,000 years ago, without the distraction of maybe an iPhone or anything, that people could build pyramids, for instance. They could do it because you know why? Because we're humans, and humans, that's our gig. Our gig is figuring stuff out. Just because we can't figure stuff out today that we could figure out 20,000 years ago doesn't mean that humans couldn't do it. Another thing is, we are virtually genetically identical to, say, Cro-Magnon man from like 90,000 years ago, or other types of cavemen. We're actually cranially inferior to Cro-Magnon man. Our heads are smaller, so we actually have gotten dumber over the last 10,000 years. And if you guys want to get dumber with me every single day on Aristotle Full Throttle, go to AristotleFullThrottle.com. I'm Aristotle Full Throttle, your bro in the know with the fro. All right, guys, they're gone on Instagram. The Instagram live video ended, and I can't share it. Oh, that's not fun. That's lame. You know what's lame? I've had 59 minutes and like 55 seconds streaming on Instagram, but the last 5 seconds it crashed and now I can't share the live video. That's not fun. I find that, in the words of the great Alicia Silverstone, super lame. But you guys can always watch the replay here on YouTube, where we'll wrap things up. Yeah, see, guys, the motor skills, the humans, the fact that we can do this is really what makes us people. That's what makes us human. I would love to see live-action Superman versus the evil him from Bizarro. Yeah. See, I would love that too. Because I think Bizarro would figure out how to do the exact opposite of whatever Superman is doing. And that would be like a fun dynamic to see Bizarro sort of anticipate everything Superman's going to do. Superman being super smart, Bizarro being super dumb. But they're both super strong. It would be an interesting dynamic to see a Bizarro Superman fighting Superman. There was another movie I saw when I was a kid, similarly to that, to the idea of Bizarro, because the Bizarro planet is a cube shape and it's the exact opposite of the Earth's orbit, so we can't see it behind the sun, which is very fascinating. And there was a movie when I was a kid, I forgot what it was called. If you guys remember this movie, it's a science fiction movie, but it involved an astronaut who took off from the planet Earth and then thought he landed back on planet Earth, but he landed on an Earth that was on the other side of the sun. So everything was opposite. So everybody's like, when you left, you were right-handed, but now you're left-handed. And he was just like, everything in this world is flipped. I'm in a mirror universe. It's also like that movie with Kristen Dunst where everybody was upside down. That movie was fun. It was interesting. Thank you for the link to the IG story. Just make a playlist for these streams and link it to your IG story. That's a good point. I should do that. I don't know what order to put them in. Most recent at the top, probably. I guess. Sure. Thank you for that idea. Also going to try to figure out other things. But guys, stay tuned for more stuff, more fun stuff. Just cranking it out. Just cranking out the fun stuff. Be safe, too. Just remember, guys, wear a mask over your nose and your mouth and under your chin. Wash your hands and stay 6 feet away from everybody. We want to get out of this. And I know a lot of people just kind of performatively walk through life saying, I'm social distancing, but then sort of completely forget to do that and then hang out and talk to people face to face and do all this stuff. And it's just going to prolong things. It's just going to potentially kill more people, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it's true. So just be very cognizant of that. And, you know, I guess there's some people in this world that just don't care. And that's not fine. I'll try to exclude you from my interactions. Just care about other people. Think about other folks. Consider people other than yourself. And remember, there's always people who could have it worse. Even if you feel like, I'll be fine, you don't know that. It's a really weird time. Things are going to open up, and there's going to be like rolling openings for things. This coronavirus, it's like an alien. Almost forgot to mention this. War of the Worlds, ladies and gentlemen. The original War of the Worlds. What a great story. What a great movie. I loved the series that came out in the early 90s or the late 80s. That was the follow-up to the movie. The whole idea that these aliens, these three-fingered and three-toed and three-eyed Martian alien beings invaded the planet and then suddenly all died off. and then they made a Steven Spielberg movie version. I'm going to rewatch that movie maybe later. You know what? I'm going to put that on and see if I still like it. But the whole idea of War of the Worlds is kind of what's happening right now. It's like these colossal alien ships just destroying humans indiscriminately and in huge numbers, like this overwhelming, insurmountable force trying to take over the planet. But what destroys them so effortlessly and so easily? But an invisible threat, an invisible monster, a thing that we can't even see or perceive. It's just a concept. And guys, by the way, you know how when people say, you know what? Well, evolution is just a theory. That's just a theory. We didn't come from monkeys. It's like, well, we didn't come from monkeys, but we did come from the same place that monkeys came from. They're our cousins. It's like saying, I didn't come from my cousin. It's like, no, you didn't come from your cousin, but we both came from our grandmother. That's how evolution works, or at least the tree of life. And what is funny is that evolution and aliens, forgot what I was talking about, but the point is, oh yeah, evolution is just a theory. When they say that, it's like, well, yeah, because in theory and science is the best way to accurately describe something. And evolution describes pretty much all life on Earth very accurately and can predict outcomes, and is actually the reason why we have vaccines for things. And do you know why we have vaccines for things called germs, called viruses? Because those are also a theory. Germs are a theory. Gravity is a theory. But guess what? I'm pretty sure that if I take my face mask, I could do this probably 1 billion times and pretty much guarantee, if I just follow the law, the theory of gravity, that it's going to do that every time. I could pretty much, to a degree of near certainty, that things will always fall on the planet Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared, depending on your elevation, depending on the density of rock in the part of Earth you're at, because that all works according to the theory of gravity and the theory of germs, germ theory. We are able to predict these rolling outbreaks of coronavirus because of the theory, germ theory. I just want people to be more aware of the terms that we're using, and aware that, yeah, evolution is a theory, gravity is a theory, germ theory is a theory. All seems to describe what's going on pretty well, so we stick to it. It's predictive. We can use that information and those systems to help protect humanity. Also, if you decide that, hey, gravity's just a theory, I'm going to jump off my building, go right ahead. It's just a theory. Oh, Snake Eyes. Knowing is half the battle. Yeah, I know. G.I. Joe. Stop all the downloading. Hey, kid. I'm a computer. I'm pretty much a Fensler film. If I were to be broken down into a meme, it would be Fensler Films G.I. Joes. Hey, who wants a body massage? What? Body massage. This is pretty much describes my life. Gravity. That's a law now, inspired by the initial theory. Yeah. Things become laws eventually. Axioms, things actually do become laws. There's nothing that... The funny thing about gravity is that the whole concept breaks down, like Newtonian equations do not work on an atomic level. So it's kind of a funny, weird... Gravity's a weird system. It's a weird thing. It definitely describes planetary motion, but not nuclear motion. or atomic motion. Um, we can talk about this and the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. You know what? Tomorrow we're going to talk about movie physics and how sometimes it's really stupid and how usually they go like this. Every movie does this one. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. You guys, Kate Ferg, Will, Tatiana, you all know what I'm talking about. When every movie goes like this, it's a wormhole. Imagine if you were going from A to B, but then you just go like this, and then every Event Horizon movie, every Interstellar movie, every movie does the wormhole. They do the wormhole. Yeah, I have a butterfly pen with rubies and jewels on it. It's magical. Listen, sometimes I moonlight as a fairy princess. Okay? Don't drop your house on me. You guys ever see that meme where the guy goes nuts because he's trying to say that the Wicked Witch of the West's sister is a fairy princess and not just a witch? She's a fairy princess. And literally the dude gets so angry he takes a knife and he's going to kill the other guy. Yeah, it's hilarious. Guys, it's been wonderful. Tomorrow we're going to talk about movie physics and how bad they are. Bad movie physics, bad movie sciences. All the sciences in movies. Yeah, subatomic physics and astrophysics is mostly theories instead of laws. Thank you, Will. That's actually interesting distinction. I didn't know that. But you guys know what I'm talking about. In movies, when they try to dumb down the science for the audience, I don't like it. I like when they just show intuitive things that happen in the movies. For instance, there are two movies that are probably among the two best science fiction movies of the last 20 years, and they're by Shane Carruth. And he's one of my favorite filmmakers because he writes, directs, stars in, edits, does all the music and distribution for his films, his two major films, because he's just like, I get it. He doesn't want to, he wants the movie to come directly from the source. And a lot of times movies get handed off to so many different people and change throughout the process. And you could probably be pretty sure that his movies are handled in a fashion that they eventually become ultimately his vision. So he's a bit of an auteur, but his movies are primer and upstream color, and they're both just very good at not treating the audience as if we're idiots. It's just you follow it, and you have to use a little bit of thinking and following and trying to understand what's going on. But that's the beauty of the unfolding. I do like how Arrival really breaks down how we going to talk to these aliens. Well, first we need an alphabet. First we need a common understanding. First we need to identify, like, what is my name? What are you called? What am I called? And then once we start there, we can move on. And this is what linguists deal with. This is what people who decipher languages, ancient languages, deal with. But just imagine if you're talking to an alien that has just a different understanding of the temporal. But plot hole theater, that's what we'll call it. You guys are the best. I appreciate you guys. I like that we hang out every day and chat about this kind of stuff because we're all into it. We like this kind of stuff. We like entertainment and challenging our thoughts and our perceptions, and it's really fun. I appreciate you. Stay safe, guys. Stay away from each other mostly. Be safe and smart. Stay 6 feet. We can do it. We can all do it. And, so people going to need their hair done. People going to want to do this and that. Just be smart about it. Oh, yeah, to serve, man. That's a great example, K. Ferg. You know, it's funny. I actually went down a rabbit hole before I go. I went down a rabbit hole yesterday with Richard Kiel, the actor who played Jaws and also played the Canamid in that episode of The Twilight Zone, which is a great episode. Oh man, that actor was so great, and he was from Detroit. I thought he was some foreign guy, but no, he was just from Detroit, and he was just a regular like happy-go-lucky actor who just played always a menacing character up until he was in Happy Gilmore, and he was just hilarious. And he was in all the Adam Sandler movies, which are fun. The Adam Sandler movies from like the early to mid '90s to the early to mid 2000s are actually all pretty funny. Then they just get really terrible. But Richard Keel, I like that guy. He was really funny. Thanks, guys.